Today I have the intention to move my camera while I expose. Intentional camera movement in a fantastic woodland here. It's absolutely amazing. Hi my friends, very nice to see you. Today I'm out here in this fantastic woodland, and to be honest, it's really hot this day, and also the last days. I think we have the hottest days of the year in the moment, and it's really hard to sleep in the night, to be honest. So just for the case that I look a little bit tired, you know why. But however, I want to do a really creative photography today. ICM, intentional camera movements. So this means I have the intention to move my camera while I expose. So usually we don't want to do this in photography. And I usually use a tripod, but today I have no tripod with me. I will work freehand. And what I found out is many photographers tried already to do ICM, but they were not really happy with their results. But ICM is so easy. And so I thought, I will take you with me into the forest and I will show you step by step what I do to get out a really great photograph. Hopefully, we will see. And the first thing I want to do is I want to get an idea which settings I have to use today. And a very important thing to know is that the settings we need depend on the conditions we have today. So we have really harsh light today, a little bit too harsh maybe, but I think it's really great when the sun is a little bit lower. It's a really great contrast we get. And it also depends on the subject we want to photograph. Gear doesn't matter all too much, to be honest. You can use each camera, each lens you want. I use a neutral density filter to be able to get longer shutter speeds. But how long the shutter speed should be, we will find out. So I will take some test shots now just to find out which settings I need today. And yeah, these photographs will definitely not get the best ones, but I also will show them to you, just that you get an idea what I changed and so on. So let's try for it. So I took already a couple of shots. You've seen already some of them, and as already mentioned, these are definitely no world-class shots. But what I found out already is that I want to open my aperture, because when I have it too closed I get too many thin lines, which looks a little bit like scratches on the canvas or something like this, what is not the worst thing. But I want to have it a little bit more in the direction of oil paintings or something like this. So this means I want to open my aperture a little bit more so that all the brush strokes, they are not really brush strokes obviously, but you know what I mean, that they get a little bit thicker. So this is my personal taste and this is where I want to go today. And I also want to focus a little bit more into the distance. So this also has the effect that the distance is a little bit more sharp. Sharpness is also a difficult thing here because it is never really sharp. We only get a little bit more sharp edges at our subject. And the next thing is the shutter speed. And what I want to do here today is I think the perfect or the best shutter speed I want to have today is 0.6 seconds, so a little bit more than a half of a second. You can go from a tenth to a second up to 5 seconds or whatever you want. So there are no rules or something like this, it's your personal taste. But as already mentioned, it depends on the conditions we have, and for that we have today, these conditions are really great. As already mentioned, we need a neutral density filter to go up with our shutter speed. Obviously you also could close your aperture instead, but this has the disadvantage that the thickness of the lines will change. So this is why I have a neutral density filter on my camera, and you can use a normal neutral density filter. What I use today is a variable neutral density filter, and this allows me that I can change the strength of the filter. And so I always can have ISO 100. It doesn't really matter. You also can a 3-stop, for example, or a 6-stop, whatever, and raise the ISO afterwards. But if you have a variable filter, you can also use it. So this is the first step. And what I found out is when I've often been out for photography with other photographers, maybe on one-to-one workshops or also just with a friend, whatever. And many photographers stop exactly at that way. So they think, it doesn't work really well and I can't do it and it's not what I expected and whatever. And they stop using ICM, and this is really sad because, as already mentioned, it's really so easy, but you have to do the next step. And I think many photographers think it's just a little bit of wiggling here and jiggling there and you get a masterpiece out, but it's not like that. It's also when you have a camera and you want to take a normal landscape photograph, you will also get not a masterpiece out of it just with exposing. You have to get an idea about the composition, about the light, all these things. So it doesn't really make a difference to normal landscape photography. And I mentioned all these things you need for a really great photograph in my video Ingredients of a World-Class Photo. I will link it above, so if you haven't seen it, I can really recommend. And the same things work here for ICM, and this is what always gets forgotten. It's really funny. Many photographers think it's like this tradition, and I'm not sure if you know this here in Austria, I think also in Germany and in Switzerland. I'm not sure about if you are from Germany or Switzerland, you can comment below, but we have this tradition at Silvester on the last evening of the year that we pour lead, liquid lead, what gets hot over a flame, and that we put it into cold water, and then there comes any picture out and nobody knows before which kind of structure it will have and how it will look like and so on. And I think many photographers which try ICM first time think it's something like that, that you just wiggle a little bit and you get out masterpieces, but you really have to think about composition. And so when you have seen my first photographs I took already, the test shots, I didn't think all too much about composition. I always think maybe a little bit about composition. It's when you have started to think about compositions, you see compositions everywhere in the landscape. So a little bit of composition was already in, but I didn't really pay all too much attention to it. And the next step is I think about which kind of compositions could work today. So I will have a look now for compositions, and as already mentioned, the goal for today is to get out one really great photograph at the end. This means the next step is only to get an idea which kind of compositions work for these conditions we have today. And a very important thing for compositions generally, not only for ICM by the way, is that you look for compositions what you really love. Don't get into Woodland when you don't like Woodland, for instance. So I'm here in Woodland today because it's really hot outside and it's really cooler here, but I also love Woodland obviously. It's really fantastic. Brings you down after a hard day or even if it's hot outside. However, I will have a look for a composition now, and I will also take some test shots when I do this, and I will also show them to you. So let's go.
Whenever I'm off to find a sunset, a flavor of a memory, whenever all the stars above are shining, then I know I'll never be alone. Wherever all my wishes may be heading, a part of us will never leave. Oh, wherever in the world you may be hiding, in a while I know you're coming home.
I found already something of interest, and it looks really absolutely fantastic. To be honest, when we just look around, it doesn't look all too special. It's woodland, and it's a hot summer day, everything is dry here. But anyway, for ICM photography we have the advantage that we can simplify our scene. So, you know, we get this painterly style. I always love my photographs to get into a painterly style, but ICM photography allows me to get it even more into a painterly style, because we see something like brush strokes, although as already mentioned, they are not really brush strokes. And when you have a look at the photographs, what you have seen already in the second phase now, where I looked for a composition, you see that I tended already to get the path into my frame. And this has a reason. So when we have a look at the path, it's a fantastic woodland path, or it's a woodland path, it's not a special one, but however, it gives us a nice contrast, so it's a little bit of bright colors, and it leads us back into our scene. And I think I will put you on my tripod. I said before I don't have a tripod with me, but you know, when I do a little bit of vlogging and so on, we always need a little bit more of equipment. So I will put you on a tripod, and then we will see us in the composition. So here we are. I'll go now into the composition and I will explain it in detail. A very important thing when we want to take ICM photographs, especially with wider lenses, we need anything to anchor our photograph, because, you know, everything gets blurry and not so clear. It's a more abstract photograph. It's always a good idea to think about an anchor in your photograph, not only in ICM, also in your normal landscape photographs, but especially in ICM photography, when you want to take wider shots with a shorter focal length, think about an anchor, because otherwise you don't know where to look and so on. And I decided for this little tree here, it's a little one, it's a tree, it's a really big tree, and when we compare it with the other trees, we see that it's really much bigger than the other ones. And this is a really fantastic thing. We know where we have to look, it leads us a little bit, we look to the anchor, and then we look into the frame, and this is our path here. So it's really fantastic, because it gives us a feeling of depth into our photograph. And this is always important, but it's even more important in ICM photography with shorter focal lengths, because yeah, you don't see everything as it looks in reality. So when you have a look here, as already mentioned, it doesn't look all too special. It's just a path, it's just a woodland scene, but there is not really anything I would photograph without ICM. But the composition is anyway a really fantastic one, because we have this amazing storytelling. So when we have a look at the left, we have this fantastic foliage up there on the trees. So it gets a little bit illuminated through the sun. I will wait a little bit that the sun will get even lower, so that we get a fantastic warm light through the leaves. And it tells the story of a low sun in the woodland. And I think it's really important that the viewer is able to feel into the scene, that there are emotions evoked at the viewer. And what's really important in ICM photography are the colors. So as we don't have all too many structures and textures here in our photograph afterwards, in a moment you obviously can see each leaf on the ground and so on, but all these things will get blurry, we will move, we will intentionally shake our camera, move our camera while we expose. And as you have seen already in my test shots, what I've taken already, I tended to move the camera vertical only, and this has a reason. Obviously we are in woodland here, and so we have lots of trees, and so we have also lots of verticals. And I always try to emphasize the important lines in the landscape, and here obviously these are the trees. And so this is the reason why I will also move it vertical here for this scene. I tested already about the shutter speed, I tested already about the speed of the movement. It's a really slower movement here I need because of the longer shutter speed. It's also for ICM a little bit a longer one. It's because of the harsh light. And yeah, I'm really happy with this composition, although I'm not sure if you can imagine already how it would look afterward. But however, A really important thing in ICM photography, especially for wider ones, is that we need a kind of plasticity in the photograph. We also need it for normal photography, but we also have to consider it in a really special way for ICM photography. And for instance, to get plasticity in our photograph, what we can do is we can look for light spots. And before we had a little bit more light up here on this tree. In the moment there are some trunks between the tree and the sun, so I'm sure we will get a little bit more light afterwards. And also when we have a look at all the other trees back there, also at these trees here and also here, everywhere on the left side, we always have a little bit of light. And when we move, you know, we will paint all the light parts of our photograph into the dark ones. And so it will look a little bit more in a three-dimensional way. We will get a little bit more plasticity into our scene. So I will wait here a little bit now that we get a little bit more light here on the trees, but I think this is a thing of just a few minutes maybe, and then we will take the exposure. So the light is already fantastic, so let's make the click, or let's shake it baby. However, let's make the click. So I think I want to take one more photograph. When I looked for composition before, I wasn't 100% sure if it will get this one, which I took already, or if it should be another one. So I want to go there now. It's just a little walk of 10 minutes or something like this. It's a little bit thicker tree trunk. And when I have a look here at all the trees here in the moment, they're really fantastic illuminated. So I think I will try for it. So let's go. What a timing. I got the last sunbeams on the tree. It's absolutely amazing. What a fantastic evening here in this amazing woodland. It's really fantastic. So I think there's not really much to explain for this composition. It's a really simple one. It's that tree back there. It's already a little bit in the shadow. We had a light spot up there like that here. You've seen the photographs already. You can comment below which of them is your favorite, or even which of the photographs I took today. So however, I hope you enjoyed this video. If yes, please give me a thumb up. Share this video with your friends, maybe on Facebook, Instagram. I will really happy about it. Would help me to grow this channel. Subscribe to my channel if you didn't have already. So thank you so much for watching. See you next Saturday. Thank you. Bye.